Hello and good morning and welcome to the first Friday in March. This is Coach Z, Lisa Z, um, and I will be talking today about life mapping. So um, this recording will last about, I'm thinking about an hour. So if you have an hour, great. If you don't have an hour, schedule it because this is going to be the full Monty. This is what I've been studying for more than a decade. Um, the science of focus, the science of time usage. This has all been probably more like 15 years of my adult life, how I spent my time working into being a coach, working into building my own life by design. So, so glad you could join me today. If you see a couple little fuzzy feet, oh, there they go, they're moving. That is my dog, and he is Cody Bear. He's going to be 13 this spring. He's a Maltese Shih Tzu blend. Back when we got him in 2011, he was called the teddy bear dog. He's a designer dog. They um, bred these two dogs for the best qualities in a house dog. He doesn't bark. He doesn't shed. He's small. He doesn't eat a lot. And so he's transportable and he's friendly and lovable and huggable. So he's like a stuffed animal come to life. He may make an appearance while we're doing this. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's what those two little fuzzy things are to my right. So let's start with a life by design and why it is so important and why I'm obsessed with using the words life by design. I can't think of a better way to describe the story when a person takes hold of their life for the first time. Some people figure it out very young. Some people are middle life. Some people are very elderly when they figure out their life by design. A life by design is only known to one person, and that is you. It is not a template for which we can all become each other or have someone else's life or even try to fashion ourselves into something that looks like someone else's life. It is not that because every single person on this earth was born with a very unique blueprint and a unique lens from which they see the world. So my life by design statements are really in support of your one and only precious life, your only lens, your only vision, your one moment in time. And so it's a little overwhelming at first, a little daunting. I understand that not everybody um, thinks this is valuable. Not everybody thinks this is worthwhile because there are people that subscribe to this idea that you cannot really design your life, that you are a participant, I'm sorry, a spectator in your life more than a creator. And so to the people that believe that, I say, yes, you're right. If you believe it, you're right. It was the Henry Ford statement, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, either way, you're right. So I'm a big believer in that when it comes to building a life by design as well. So I want to start by saying, how do I know? So when I was, I don't know, right around 30 years old, I realized I had made a grave mistake in my life. I had sold off my home and moved to Europe with my ex-husband. Um, that was a moment where I had such a strong intuition hit. It was a God wink, we call them, or an intuitive strike. But the day we woke up from moving, so I sold my house, my very first house. It was a 100-year-old farmhouse. Love that. Bought it by myself with my own money. Very proud of that accomplishment. It was $64,000 in 1992. Left my little cute job at the restaurant supply company. in Minneapolis, my little cute car, and my friends, and my little art career, which was really tiny at the time, kind of still is actually. And I left those things and I woke up in Europe and was crying. I was having a nightmare when I woke up. And in my nightmare, it's still so vivid. I was crying, no, 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 I didn't want to go. And here I was waking up in my in-laws' extra spare bedroom, in a twin size bed because they didn't at the time, they probably do now, but they didn't have very large beds. Their beds were the size of what we call in America a cot. Um, and so they oftentimes, like married people, would just take their cots and push them together, which might create maybe a double bed. But I woke up in my cot and I was screaming, no, no, no. I didn't want to go. And tears were really legitimately falling down my face. I was 28 years old, but I knew something was really wrong. Um, that was a very hard season for me. From 28 to 30, I made some good choices and some not so good choices. One of the not so good choices was going to Europe and selling everything I knew. Because when I got to Europe, I thought I was giving up my home, my privacy, my job, my ability to earn a living, my friends, my neighborhood, and my family. I thought I was just giving up that. That's like a lot, but that's what I categorize. But the truth is, what I really gave up was my sense of self. My sense of self, because living in a foreign country where I didn't know the language, I wasn't familiar with the metric or decimal system. I mean, I wasn't familiar with measuring food, any of it. I couldn't read anything. So, magazines, newspapers, everything, signs, couldn't read. I took away my culture. The people in America where I live were very friendly. We wave to strangers. We are polite. We say, please, excuse me, thank you, you're welcome. And we do that to strangers. We do it on the street. That was not part of their culture. And so I lost that. Um, I lost the mobility of the familiarity of my own community. I had my own little routines where I used to go to get a coffee, where I used to go to a little shop, thrift store, buy greeting cards, produce, whatever. I had my own little thing going in my old neighborhood, and that was my familiarity. So I gave that up too. So that's a sense of self, to not to be able to wake up in the morning and nothing looks familiar. The decor where I lived in Scandinavia is very white, so white walls, blonde floors, white furnishings. I know right now that's really trending. Everybody loves it. Back then, in 1995, when I moved to northern Norway, that was a culture shock for me because you know the um, the style at that time was deep, rich earth tones. So there were mustards and burgundies and chocolatey browns, and that's what was in my house when I left. So to wake up in a home that had no carpets in it, and again, I know that's trending now, but when I left, this carpet in the house was important because I'm in Minnesota and it's very cold. So, to wake up and not recognize the textures, not recognize the colors, not recognize the shape. The beds are much lower to the ground, much more like Japanese style furniture. Um, Toilets, get this, the flusher was different. Even the water goes counterclockwise to the way our toilets go. Isn't that weird? Um, then, of course, there are the products. When you get in the shower, there are the, like, oh my God, I don't even know what this is because I can't read the bottle. I don't know the soap. I don't know what this is all made out of. Like, I might as well have been shot up into Mars in a rocket ship because that's how unfamiliar everything was. So sense of self is gone. You go down the stairs, it's time for breakfast. The coffee doesn't taste the same. The bread isn't sliced, so you gotta slice it. I'm not trying to be a princess here or sound like I'm lazy. I'm just saying when you have routines and familiarities and they are completely ripped from you, you have to start thinking about sense of self and what are you going to do with yourself from this moment forward. How are you going to commandeer your talents, your mind, your thoughts, and most importantly, your mindset to start over? How am I going to do this? My father-in-law could speak English, but my mother-in-law could not. I was terrified of being in the room alone with her because there were blank stares. Talk about awkward. Um, so what did I do? I decided, well, the best thing to do is to actually just go ahead and get a job and go to school. So I signed up for Norwegian as a second language, and I went to school every day from I want to say it started from 10 to 2. I really struggled to get out of bed though, however, because where I lived in the Arctic Circle, 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, the sun went down somewhere in feels like October and doesn't really return until March. It kind of hovers around the horizon on both ends of the year, the fall and the spring, without ever peaking. You never really see the sun come over the mountains, and they know the day it's coming. They know and they celebrate that day. But the rest of the time in between is sort of a hazy twilight in the fall, a hazy twilight in the spring, and then a good solid 3 months of pitch black. Pitch black. There is no light. There's nothing to regulate your sleep or waking hours. You get up in the pitch black, you grab your coffee, and for me, it was really hard to wake up. Oh my God, I could hardly get up at 9 a.m. to get to my class by 10, which by the way, I wasn't used to walking everywhere, and it's all mountainside. So it's like walking down the hill. Don't slip. I don't have the right shoes. And I did slip once in front of a bus, but they had excellent brakes, thank God, because that could have ended very ugly. I slipped in front of a regular city bus. And after that, I told my family, and they got me these special slip-on things. I think they were called Bruders, and they were like these teeth that you strap to your shoes, so you don't have that happen. So, this pitch black, I'd get up, I would walk into town, start my class. Guess what? The people in my class, they couldn't speak English either because there are other foreigners from parts of the world that are also learning Norwegian as a second language. So I'm sitting there thinking, oh, I'll make friends. No, you won't, because you don't speak Norwegian and you don't speak Norwegian. And none of us speak English except for me. So here we sit in a class full of people that range from, 20 to 40. I mean, there's quite a bit of a range. And I'm trying so hard to make a friend, and I cannot, because it's literally not possible. Eventually, I did make one friend. His name was Francesco Rubino, and he was from Bari, Italy. He spoke dual language, Italian and English. And so Francesco and I became friends, and we'd go to lunch together and go on walks. And it was just really fun to actually use my language and speak it. And, he laughed a lot because obviously he had English as his second language. And so therefore any slang or any funny, comments or one-liners I had really made him laugh. So that was a good time. I mean, that put a sliver of sunshine in this world of mine. However, I was there married and with my 5-year-old child. So we did take him to daycare every day. And another huge non-familiar part of this was the fact that daycare, they don't cater to the children like they do in America. One time, my son didn't want to play in the park in the snow. He was tired of it. He's fed up pretty early on. It's like it's pitch black. I don't want to play in the snow. I'm tired because they would take him out for hours and hours every day in the snow. He wasn't used to that. He was used to maybe one time a day for a half hour, something like that, or even maybe 2 or 3 times a week for an hour, but never all day in the snow. And then pack a lunch, and then cold food and all that. So the daycare lady, when I got done with school, went to go pick him up, which by the way, we picked him up on the bike, and it had a basket in front, and we just sit him in the basket on the bike without a helmet or anything. We're riding a bike in the snow, in the mountains, and our child is not literally strapped in. I can't even believe we did that. It's kind of funny, actually. Along the road, we weren't on any kind of walking path either. We're literally legitimately on the road where cars and buses go. Um, and they're just very good drivers there, thank God. Um, but one time I went to pick him up, and she said her name was Hannah, and she said he has been very bad today. And I said, "What do you do?" And she said he wouldn't go to the park with us, and I wouldn't let him stay in the house. So I made him sit outside for 3 hours while we were at the park, and he ate a cold hot dog, and that was his day. And I was so irate with this woman. I was so irate with the world, mostly with myself, because I knew I chose this. I was like, I chose this. I am at fault for this. Um, this is not acceptable. And I told my ex-husband about that, and he was like, "What? You're really overreacting. This is how we do it. This is how all the kids are treated. This is not inhumane. This is fair." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough. It's not inhumane. She did give him food. However, it's not even that he was outside for 3 hours. It's that she thought it fair and fit to punish him by leaving him in her yard for 3 hours without anyone watching him. He's 5. So that was, these are the moments when you start to talk about your life by design. You start to look back at the choices you've made and realize, yeah, some choices have really big consequences. Leaving your beloved country where you are really, really proud of it and leaving for somewhere else that's voted #1 place in the world to live. You think, okay, well, if it's #1 place in the world to live, it's going to be a good experience. And to get there and realize you chose that, you created that, you are now subject to the consequences is a moment that gives you pause because you're like, damn, the #1 country in the world, yeah, by their standards, their happiness standards, which the people of that part of the world are very outdoorsy. They love being outside year round. Not everybody's wired like that. Yes, they're a green country. Their food is less polluted. Their skies are less polluted. Their earth is less polluted. Very good. All those things I totally agree with, totally endorse. Very thoughtful people, very educated people. However, being the most educated people for the smallest population, one of the smallest countries in the world, interesting, they have the highest percentage of smokers, cigarette smokers, which was such an offensive thing to me. I was always like, there's everybody's always freaking smoking everywhere. And for me, that's not something I value at all. I hate cigarette smoke and I don't want to see the butts. I don't want to see the pollution going into the waterways, into the ditches. It just aggravates me. And so that's one of the places where smoking, and it could have changed by now. I'm not saying it's still that way. I don't know. But anyway, and I don't even know if they're still #1 place in the world to live. They're probably in the top 5 because it's most of the Scandinavian countries that have high resources, low populations, and high education. So that's fantastic. All those things are fantastic. I'm not trying to knock, countries of the world, not at all. But what I'm saying to you is, you go to school and then you come home and then you eat food that you don't like or know. For me, it was fish. I grew up in the Midwest. We didn't eat fish. There's no fish to be eaten where I was. And potatoes, and everything's boiled, and salt, pepper, their spices, with a little butter. And even sometimes they didn't put salt and pepper out, and I'd have to sneak into the kitchen and I'd say, I'm going to get a napkin. And then I'd run in the cupboard and dump salt and pepper in my hand and secretly like bring it back to the table, hold my hand under the table until I noticed people weren't looking and sort of sprinkle it on my fish or my food because I was that desperate for flavor. Now going back, and I know I said this is going to be an hour, this is going to be a 90-minute class. So bear with me. It's going to be 90 minutes. I know I said that I was from the Midwest, but the truth is, I was a person that always embraced international foods, international cultures, uh, people from around the world, and their art and food and their music and all that. I was just that person. So, that's how I ended up there because when I went to college, I met the people of the International Club, played volleyball with them. And there was a guy from Africa, a guy from India, a lady from Nicaragua, and then, of course, the guy I ended up marrying who was from Norway. So the Norwegians were most similar to the Minnesotans because a lot of them founded this land. So, but that didn't matter because I had friends from all over the world before that I was eating their food from Pakistan and I was eating their food from, Mexico and later on Jamaica and Nicaragua and Colombia and, let's see, Puerto Rico. So those were the spices that I had started using in my own life and cooking with. So, imagine now you're eating dinner and you're like, it's a boiled potato. Thank you very much. So I'm just giving you the full background story. I'm probably going way too deep into this, but I want you to understand the dramatic reasoning behind why I became obsessed with this idea of moving from lack to luster, from moving from lack to um, positivity, to abundance, to thinking a different way. Now, all along, I was lucky to have a healthy child, a loving child. And at the time, the marriage was not so good, but that's beside the point. When I couldn't take it anymore, I just told my husband of that time, I am leaving and I need you to be honest with your parents. You need to tell them I'm not going on vacation. I am leaving. And he told them, no, I'm telling them you're going on vacation. I was like, no, 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 no. You are going to tell them I'm leaving you. It's not my job to tell them I'm leaving you. So I bought a ticket and I took my, at that time, 5-year-old. Yeah, he was 5. I flew him home with me and we went back to Minneapolis. The day we arrived, it was negative 60 below wind chill with a high of negative 40. And that was somewhere in January. Oh, look at the feet. You see the feet? He's stretching. Anyway, um, that, I mean, it's just, I don't know how you feel about winter. I don't know how anyone feels about any of this stuff. But the truth is, let's face it, no human being at 98, what are we, 98.6? No human being feels good in negative 60 wind chills. There is no outdoors person that would go hiking, snowshoeing, skiing, or snowmobiling, any of that in negative 60. This is just inhumane weather, like flesh freeze weather. So when I got back, misery was met with more misery. Um, and I just had to commandeer my life. So I ended up finding my husband a job and we didn't permanently separate. He came back, we didn't come back till May. I found him a job in Southern Indiana and I purposely chose somewhere in the South because I'm like, I'm over winter. I need to go somewhere warmer. And so that was good. We were there for 5 years. But I didn't really even start to think at that time I was 30 and I left at 35 to go to Detroit. And that's when 9/11 happened. It was a long, hard slog in greater Michigan because so many thousands, tens of thousands of jobs were lost due to the economy that was hitched to 9/11 and all the drama that ensued. So now I'm 35 years old and my oldest child ended up going to college in 2008, so I was 42 years old when I finally felt that I could do this. There was a rumbling within me that said, "You can do this. You can build a life by design." By the way, we're 30 minutes in, and I just told you the backstory. We've got 1 hour for me to tell you now how to build a life by design, how to map it. So back to, now I'm 42 years old. Send my bright son off to college. He is studying chemistry. He's doing great. I enter into a real estate course in the fall of 2008. He goes to school in August. I go to school in October. I get my license, but I'm still working part-time for the state of Michigan. I'm a little nervous. I don't really know how to do this. So I go ahead and I just slowly start to prepare myself to be a realtor. I slowly start to buy the stuff and assume the identity. In the spring of 2009, I actually started as an agent. And in the spring of 2010, or 2009, no, it was the spring of 2010 that I started with the biggest real estate franchise in the world. And that's where I heard the words life by design, not by default. Now, I don't know if they invented that. I don't think they did. I'm guessing it probably goes back thousands of years to Socrates or some other big name. However, that stuck with me. There were other one line kind of laws that they had there too, which were all impactful, but that life by design and not by default was really the thing that stuck. And for the next few years, I humbled and floundered because we were digging out of 2008, the greatest real estate recession in America since the Great Depression. So, and of course, I'm in Greater Detroit, so it's even a little worse than the rest of the country. So now I am really, you know, insecure, in doubt, feeling like a failure, feeling like, did I really make the right decision here? Because I've had a history now of making some not so great decisions about where to live, what to do, who to associate with, all the things. So now I'm thinking, what the heck? And I was noticed by a coach, and the coach changed my life. And I will say, I didn't stop having a coach until I've had a coach up until 6 months ago after that. So basically, I had a coach for the next 15 years of my life to help me, guide me, illuminate the dark corners into what I wanted to do with my talent and time. So around 2013 is when a coach of mine gave me a free pass into a class. And he said, I'm giving you a $500 free pass. I want you to go take that class. And I think it's going to help you a lot. So I took the class. I'm not going to name names, but the guy who was the person running the class was one of the top 25 influential in real estate. He was in that group. I'm not going to name names. And he invited me to come and be a trainer for him. That was such a pivotal moment in my life because I feel like I had built this cheerleading bench for me. And there was probably about 6 people that were cheering me on. And then for him to buy me that $500, pass into the class, and then for me to have that teacher reach out and say, I think you have potential to do this. That was the kind of buy-in I needed to keep going. And then the rest of my time, from 2013 to, gosh, 2000, I don't even know, is it about 2017 is when I opened my own coaching business. But from 2013 to 2015 is when I started to implant and embed my own auto suggestions through reading from others like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, and others who were masters at auto suggestion and at building a life by design. People that came decades, if not 100 years before me, had cracked the code. And I'm guessing that, this is just what my simple little thin awareness in the world. I'm sure there's probably been millions of people that have cracked their own code, their own life mapping, their own life by design philosophy and pathways. So this is just what I was exposed to in my little world. And so from 2013 to 2015, that was like my boot camp, 3 years, 13, 14, 15, to start to change the way I look at things, start to change my behaviors. And right around 2013 is when the book, The One Thing, came out. I was given a copy of the book, read it, and I was like, man, doesn't really speak to me. So I put it on a shelf. And I bring that up because I read it again later and I read it again, and eventually it did speak to me. And in 2017, I became one of the first 100 certified One Thing facilitators in the world. And that was transformative. That was another big, big domino shift, big domino fall. But back to the 13 to 15 range, this is where I started thinking, okay, life by design, what does this mean? So I attended some workshops, some seminars, some conferences, and constructed, and along with a coach, constructed the very first story of me. It started by journaling. It started by journaling my future self. It started by forgiving my past self. And so that's the first thing I will tell you in building a life by design is you have to first take the process of figuring out who you are. Number one, who am I? What are my strengths? What do I stand for? What are my values? For me, the way to find that out was I took the Strength Finder test. I took the DISC, D-I-S-C test. I took the KPA. I took the Myers-Briggs, and I took the love language test. I'm sure I took more, but there's just tests and there's free versions. So if you don't know who you are and you really don't know what drives you, what entices you, what excites you, what motivates you, you need to go and take those tests and start to assemble, because you're going to see themes. And when you start to assemble it, start extracting the themes, and you will start to get an idea of who you are. I know it sounds crazy, like we should all know who we are, but I did not know who I was until I was into my 40s. Executive function of the brain isn't even really, they believe for women, it's like mid-20s. For men, it's like late 20s. So, it's crazy to me that we think we can tell an 18-year-old to go to college and like design their whole life, and they don't even have executive function in their brain for another 10 years. Frontal lobe development. Isn't that crazy? Like, what are we doing? Recently, I also heard that the whole educational system was set up just to make obedient workers for the workforce that America needed. And so it was all designed originally just around teaching young people how to follow a clock and be obedient. Like, how crazy is that? So challenge things, people. Challenge things. So back to, finding who you are. So you do that, you find out who you are, you forgive your past self, you write a letter to your future self. What you're doing is you are embedding in your subconscious mind what you want to happen. So when you do that, your subconscious mind is way more powerful than your conscious mind, and it is often referred to as the order filler. So the order taker is your conscious mind is the order taker, but your subconscious mind fills the order. And the only way it can fill the order is if it hears the message repeatedly, frequently, and loudly. So what do you want to happen in your future? What do you want to happen 5 years from now? And I would argue, after doing this now for so many years, I would argue, what is your vision for the rest of your life? Many people can't even see for next week or next month. And I would like to challenge you, after you figure out who you are and what motivates you, I'd like you to challenge you to cast a vision of the person you'd like to grow into. And then one day when you're that person on the hill that's 80 years old, tell me, what was your story? Tell me, how do you feel? Tell me who's in your life. Tell me, what do you enjoy? How do you spend your time? That is kind of a bigger challenge. So before that, though, I'd like you to just do the 5-year vision. So we know who we are, and now we're going to cast a 5-year vision. From that point, we are going to now decide what the different areas, what we're going to do with each of these areas. So there's 7 areas. The areas are personal. Well, no, they're spiritual. I'm sorry, I'm going to put them in order of importance. They are spiritual. It's your relationship with a higher power, your creator. The next one is personal, relationship with yourself. The next one is key relationships, or physical. No, physical. Gosh, you'd think I would have this totally locked in. But you guys, the reason I'm stumbling with this a bit is because I almost exclusively work with just professional and personal. Like, some coaches work with all of it. I just work with your personal and professional goals. So for me, to talk about the 7, it's not in my daily wheelhouse. But let me go back and do it better. So there's spiritual, number 1. Number 2 is your personal relationship with yourself. Number 3 is your physical relationship with yourself. Number 4, key relationships. So that is your children, your spouse, possibly your parents, Who are the key relationships? Best friend. Number 5 is your job. So what is your job? What do you do every day? If you are a waitress, that's your job. But what's your business? What do you do to um, the industry you're in? So if you're a waitress, but your dreams are to buy the restaurant, then your business is restaurant. Do you see what I'm saying? So like you're a waitress now, but you could be an owner later in the restaurant industry. And the last one is finance. So finance is how who you're building wealth for and how you're building wealth. It's your investments. It's that. So those are the 7 areas, and I usually focus on personal and professional. So we're going to just go straight for personal because this is building the life by design for you personally. Of those 7, we'll pick out then for those categories, we'll go with spiritual, personal, physical, and key relationships. So those 4 categories, you need to ask yourself these questions. How do I feel about these? Am I happy with my spiritual life? Am I happy with my personal life with myself? Am I proud of myself? Am I happy with my physical self? And am I happy with my key relationships? Because these are the ones that are critical in designing a life that feels full and a life that you don't question, a life of peace, a life of satisfaction, a life of abundance. All these things come out of you inspecting those first 4 categories. Now, when it comes to asking the questions, you also have to backtrack for a minute and look at your life and say, who is in my life is rooting for me? Who are my cheerleaders? Who are the people I surround myself with? Because who I surround myself with matters. So, who's in your life? Are there people that make you feel, celebrated, cherished? Are they helpful? Do they smile when they see you? Are they truly complimentary? Are they truly joyful for your successes? Uh, think about that for a minute because scary and frightening as it is, there are going to be people in your life that you're going to have to diminish their impact, and it could end up being a key relationship person. It could end up being a spouse, a best friend, a parent, or a child. So you have to really inspect. Now that you know who you are, and now that you can cast that vision, now you have to say, are these relationships with each of these components going for me? I struggled for many, many years with my relationship with spirituality. I've recently started to have some breakthroughs, but being born and raised Catholic, and feeling very much like it was not a very loving place to be, did not feel inclusive, did not feel, it just didn't feel like a place that was growth oriented, or it felt very punitive, I guess. So for me, I've had to really, really work through processing what is my new story with spirituality and how do I want to live out my life as a spiritual person. So with that said, you have to then look at your, relationship with your physicality. What is your own unique story? You need to do the research. You need to look at your habits. You need to listen to your body and decide, am I treating myself right? Because it shows up. It shows up on your skin. It shows up on your face. It shows up in your attitude. It shows up in your blood tests. So all the things are up to you. And not everybody is ready to do this. Some people will never be ready, and that's okay. This is only for the people who are interested in creating a life by design. This is not anything I ever put on anyone. This is just, I think it's incredible. I've done it. I'm still doing it. It's never a destination. It's always a process and a journey. So this is for you. And then once you look at those people that are influencing you in your life, then you say to yourself, okay, where do I need to do some housekeeping? And when you erase, you must replace. So where are the people that inspire you? Where are the people that will cheer you on? it doesn't have to be overnight. This can be a process of locating your new tribe, is what I call it. It's locating that new group of people that are going to have your back. And it may only be two people. Like, here's the thing, you don't need thousands of people. You need one or two people that say, yes, you can do it. Keep going. You just need very few. And that is all it takes. Plus, you are working on you. So you build your own self-confidence. You work on your own mindset. You cast your own visions and create your own dreams. And you keep those blinders on and don't listen to anybody as you keep working into that life by design. So that's the very first steps in life mapping. And this is what I do one-on-one with people all the time. And then after that, we have to look at, so that's like the awareness category, if you will. The next thing we look at is, how do we set the intention? How do we set the goal of what we want in those areas? Well, we actually have to, that's part of the visioning, right? That's the feeling. That's who do I want to be with? How do I want to be? That's the dreams that got suppressed from your childhood. Oh, look at the feet are more in my picture again. He's moving around in his nap. He takes naps all day. He's old. What did you suppress through your life that you need to recall? What needs to be like total recall here? What do you need to do to recall those things? Do you need to go take a weekend alone? Do you need to go be with some girlfriends that make you laugh? Do you need to take a vacation to an inspiring place where you're not distracted? What do you need to do to pull up the recall of your dreams? Because setting goals is highly linked to these dreams. And they don't have to be goals or dreams that are like specific. What I'm working on with people when I do life mapping is, this idea is more of a feeling. It's more of a direction than a actual absolute. So I don't want you to think, oh, my dream is always to been to own a bagel shop, or my dream has always been to own a horse farm, or, you know, whatever, parasail, or go snorkeling in the Barrier Reef, or whatever. I mean, what I want to say to you is, it's not about a specific thing. It's about, how do I want to spend my time? So it's like, if you say, I want to, own a snorkeling company in the Barrier Reef, I'm hearing, I love the ocean. I'm hearing, I love the sea. I'm hearing, this is where I'm at peace. I'm hearing, I need this for my mental and physical health. So when I say cast a vision, intention, and a dream/goal for yourself, I'm saying, let's go into the heart and figure out, what were those things that you had an interest in before life sucked them away, before distraction sucked them away, before letting others' opinions into your head change the course of everything. So in the vein of, partnership and team oriented, behavior, you were in defense of you were thinking, I'm going to be this team player. I'm going to do all these things so that I get the approval and I get the likability, and then I'm a good mom, or I'm a good whatever. The truth is, that was you giving up on your authentic self little by little, and not holding and demanding that space for yourself that was yours and yours alone. We oftentimes forfeit it in the name of being mom, or a sister, or a wife, or a friend, or an employee. We forfeit our dreams and visions because somehow we feel that maybe that was not real. Maybe that was, child's play. Maybe now that we're an adult, now we gotta act like adults, and we have to we have to act this way, and we have to subscribe to a certain behavior and pathway, if you will. And back to the whole, kids going off to college, that's exactly what we do with late teenagers, is we groom them for this culture of like, this is the path. But that is not true. And we know it because the people that break out and live their best lives oftentimes are people that you just can't even hardly believe their story. Their stories are so incredible. And you're just like, okay, yeah, that was definitely a person that found the courage and the vision to break out of the old and go into the new and design it a different way. You see it a lot with weight loss and health journeys. People will just be like transformed, and that's a very easy transformation to see. Now, an internal mindset transformation isn't quite as easy to see because the people that are interacting with you right now, if you have a broken mindset, you're going to probably diminish their role in your life and their impact and their time. So those people won't see the new version of you. You're going to save that new version of you as you evolve into it for that new tribe. So it's not as easy to see a psychological transformation as it is to see a physical transformation. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter what other people see. It's what you see and what you feel and how you experience your days. You're working into building your life by design when your days start to go right every day. And I tell people this a lot. I have had maybe, and I mean maybe, 5 bad days in the last 15 years. And when I say days, really, of those 5 bad days, maybe 2 of them were the whole day. The other 3 were bad moments in the day, bad news delivered to me. Somebody died, something happened, I lost my job. Those were bad moments. Now I get to choose whether I take a bad moment and turn it into a whole day of bad, which I used to in the past, because we all did, right? That's what we used to do. My clip is starting to bother me, so I'm going to take my clip out. Now I say to my clients, you get a 5-minute funeral, babe. You get 5 minutes to process and rage, and you can journal, you can scream. I don't care what you do. You get 5 minutes, and then I need you to get back up on your horse, baby, and go. So when it comes to, other people and what they think of you, we don't care, right? These blinders are up. We're on, well, the horses don't wear the blinders, we do. We're trotting along, we're doing our thing. And as we define this dream and this vision, we actually have to write it down. And now I'm going to pause for a moment. Okay, sorry about that. Took a break. Let's dive into the next part of A Life by Design, and that is actually publishing your goals to the world, to the universe, to your loved ones, to your cheerleaders. So, starting with, we talked about dreams. Let's talk about greatest personal wish. That is the vision of the ideal life. So, what I'd like for you to do is to write out what the ideal life is for you in the next 5 years. So, let's say 5 years from now, it's 2024. So that'd be 2029. What will you be doing in 2029? So for me, I will be writing books full time. I'll have more than 1 book published. I'd say I'd probably have 3, at least 2. I will be traveling a lot. I'll be spending time between the South, the North, and my children's homes. I will be enjoying speaking to groups, inspirational speeches for free, motivational speeches, and I will be off of social media completely in the next 3 years, and I will be enjoying excellent health because I'll be upping my activity. I'll be biking, I'll be playing pickleball, I'll be swimming, I'll be snorkeling, maybe even scuba diving. And that's what I'll be doing. And I will once or twice a year be traveling somewhere in the world that I've always wanted to see, like England, Ireland, Australia, Hawaii, those places. And that's how my days, that's what my loose vision of my life is. Now, one of those things I can actually engineer as a goal out of that. So what's the one thing in there that I can actually do right now that would lead me to the 5-year vision? And for me to get the first book published, that means I have to be working on a book writing schedule. Now, um, how do you do that? Well, you have book writing prompts like from Storyworth, or you have hire a writing accountability coach, or you use writing accountability software or an app, um, or you have a Facebook group that is for free, and you join a free accountability group, or at least a mastermind brainstorming group. So that's how you do that. So for me, the very first goal would be, let's say my goal that is extracted from my vision, but a big part of my vision is to have my first self-help book published. So therefore, to have that published, and since I told you I'm going to have 2 or 3 by 5 years, so then I have to pick the date when I think the first one should be published, and I believe by the end of this year. So that gives us, we're 3 months into the year. Well, actually only 2. It's the first day of March, so I still have 10 months left. So for me, that means publishing it, that means writing it, that means telling someone, that means talking about it, that means keeping it in front of me, that means printing it on a piece of paper and keeping it right in front of me to feed my subconscious mind daily as to my goal. It means calendaring it. So if I say, okay, 10 months, I want to write, let's just say 1,000 words. No, it's not going to be that. 6,000 words in 10 months. So that means what? 600 words a month. So that means let's say I only want to work 3 weeks out of every month, so that's 200 words a week. Let's say I only want to work 3 days out of every week, that's 100 words a day. And when am I going to do that? I'm going to do that when willpower is on will call, which is in the morning when the battery charge is the strongest. So I will start my writing. I will start my day now, beginning today. Instead of just doing my miracle morning and scribing in my gratitude journal, I will, in addition to that, sit down at my computer and write my first 100 words for the day. Now, as a person that knows that goals are easy to lose sight of, it's really, really important to tell someone that you love what your goal is, what your dream is, and to discuss it. The more you discuss it, the more you look at it, the more you feed it into your subconscious mind, the more you're gonna get teeth on it. It's gonna grip you, and it's going to be something that you can then turn into a habit. For me, like for example, I don't write 100 words a day. So when I start, it's going to be uncomfortable at first, just like going to the gym. You don't just go to the gym and lift 100 pounds and go, yay, I did it. No, you start with 10 pounds and then you work into 15 and 20 and so on. If you went into the gym and just lifted 100 pounds on day one, the next day you would feel like, you would be in pain. You would be resistant to that new habit. So instead of, um, you know, doing something that is scary and big, you don't say, I'm going to write 6,000 words by the end of the year. That's too much for your brain to comprehend. But what you can say is, I'm going to write 300 words by the end of this week. It's the same thing. It's building that muscle that allows you to turn it into a habit. And once it becomes a habit, because I have had this habit of exercising and writing, by the way, and once I turn it into a habit, I start to feel weird if I don't do it. Then you know for sure it's a habit. When you cannot not do it in the morning, like making your bed or brushing your teeth, like you don't have to think about those things. You just do them. So why do we overcomplicate things in every other area of our lives? Why do we have to overthink this and like talk ourselves out of it? And then we beat ourselves up because we set a goal and then we didn't do it. And then we feel bad about ourselves. And then we measure ourselves against others and they look like they're crushing it and we are not. So therefore now we feel even more bad. So you might as well have a donut. Like seriously, you guys, we are our own worst enemies and we can deconstruct that by reconstructing it into a calendar. And so therefore the next step is to actually calendar it. You need that in a Google Calendar, digital paper, or both. I like both. Um, so that it's those reminders are there. It's always there. It's in your face. You need visual reminders of where you're going. And by the way, this is why vision boards are so incredible. And this is why people are obsessed with vision boards, because you are feeding the order taker, your subconscious mind, through imaging. And I believe imaging is huge. I'm a really visual person. And so I love the idea of a vision board, but on your vision board, you can also put words, because words are really, really powerful too. So it's up to you how you want to feed your subconscious mind. All I'm saying is it has to be in front of you. It has to be to the side. It has to be published.